Hello, BookTube. I have some random Hedgehog book recommendations for you. The series on this channel that you all seem to like got this name from Christopher Russell, BookTube's own cartoon hedgehog, so named by Joe Spivey. And when Joe Spivey gives you a derisive nickname, it sticks. So I thought it would be a kind of weird Mobius strip experience to do a Hedgehog book recommendation video with Christopher here. And once again, for those of you who have been peppering my emails with plaintive questions about whether or not he's ever going home, eyes on the prize, okay? You'll get him back to making his videos on his own little channel in due time. One person who will be known to you, also as a guest at Hyde Cottage, actually wondered in an email, surely his body will give out eventually. Which is not saying much for my hospitality, that is the yardstick we're using here. Sooner or later, your visit will kill him, and then he'll have to leave.
Yeah.
My hospitality is just fine.
Yeah.
The rest of your body might be in agony, but your taste buds are in heaven.
It is true.
So we're going to start off. This is just going to be random. And who knows, some of them might interest you more than they interest me. This is an old anthology volume, Swordsman in the Sky, edited by Don Walheim with this great early Frank Frazetta cover. And it is a collection of mostly fantasy short stories. Even though I think, the superscript there says interplanetary adventure, but he's mostly high fantasy. And anthologies are hit or miss, of course. You're almost never going to get one that is even in its quality. But some anthologies stick with you. One of the themes for this particular Hedgehog book recommendation video is stuff that just sticks with me. And so it might stick with you. And this anthology does. When you're done with it, years later, you'll think, I've read a lot of flyweight, here today, gone tomorrow anthologies, and this wasn't one of them. This is revisitable. Then we have Bruce Catton. For all you people who want to be Civil War guys, this is his debut in the Library of America, his trilogy about the Army of the Potomac, the main Union Army. It's tremendously good. I have praised this author endlessly on this channel. It's tremendously good. I am hoping that the Library of America will also do his other trilogy, which is even better than this one. But this will certainly... I dreamed about this volume forever and ever when I was reading Bruce Catton and recommending him and finding him for people at used bookstores. I dreamed about a high-quality reprint volume that was as nice as this. The Library of America is great. They have acid-free pages, sewn binding, a built-in bookmark. They're lovely. So I strongly recommend this volume. I don't know how you'd be able to find it. Then we have Robert Orsi. He is a first-rate thinker, and this is his book, History and Presence, which starts off from a reality on the ground that a lot of people, even a lot of religious people, don't remember, which is that Catholicism, the world's biggest denomination of Christianity, Catholicism is based on daily miracles. A lot of religious people think, no, this is just empty liturgy, this is just empty ritual. But according to Catholics, the wafer is transformed into the body of Christ every time a priest does that at every Mass, everywhere in the world. And it becomes, hence the title here, the real presence. And Christianity has done a great job of avoiding the weird, most of the weird resonances of that. That means you are eating someone's flesh every time you take communion. But Orsi only starts there, and then he moves on from there to ask, well, what does the real presence mean? What is the meaning of that? Not only in Catholicism, but maybe in other religions as well. How much do we need our religions to have at least what we think is an anchor in the real world? And Orsi is such a good writer that this book is interesting, even though it's flapdoodle. Of course, there is no such thing. If the wafer transforms into the body of Jesus Christ, then that would mean that once the priest has raised it up, spoken the words, and brought it back down right before he hands it to you, if you put it in a spectrometer, it would register as human flesh. It doesn't. It doesn't. There have been cases in history of humans well, won't pick on the Donner Party here, but of humans who know what human flesh tastes like and subsequently took communion. They didn't say, this is like old times. No, they didn't do that. It was still a wafer. So the heart of the book is silly nonsense, but it's so well done, so thoughtful that you'll love it. Or I loved it, I should say, and maybe you will. Hedgehogs are difficult to please. Then we have something by Kathy Johnson, Nature Walks. This is, it's too bright. It's full of natural history observations, the type of book that I've recommended many times on this channel before, where you're wandering around and I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree, that sort of thing. You're walking around and you notice the boids and the bees and whatnot. But this has an added element of Kathy Johnson wanting to teach you how to do that. Not necessarily how to write your own book, but how to be in nature in an observing way. Which, I don't know, the way I'm saying it makes it sound very self-evident, but I don't think it is. I have walked in nature with plenty of people who did not know that it was there around them. They did not know how to see it. And this book has that kind of a pedagogical edge to it that I like, and you might like it. Then we have Ross MacDonald on crime writing. Tiny little thing. Can't tell from the iPad all these things look the same, but this is a tiny little thing. And I don't mean it's a thin mass market paperback. I mean it's smaller than a mass market paperback. It's a tiny little pamphlet of a thing on the ins and outs of crime writing, how you do it, what mistakes you should avoid. And this is the author of the Lou Archer novels that I'm currently reading through. So I don't have my little copy of this anymore, and I really wish I did, because there was good thinking in here. Generally speaking, when you get an author, a science fiction author, a mystery author, a pretentious literary fiction, generally speaking, when you get them to write or, God forbid, speak about their craft, the results are awful. Absolutely awful. They are incredibly banal. They are that thought leader skit.
Yeah,
they are that.
The
generic thought leader. Remind me to put a link to that down below.
Okay.
That they're usually nothing, and Ross MacDonald's not like that. So this has some stuff in it, some meat on its bones. Then we have Ivan Bunin. This is his book Cursed Days, about his experience in captivity as a result of the Russian Revolution. He wrote up that whole story, the day-by-day Ivan Denisovich experience of it. He wrote it up day by day in a chronicle and then destroyed it, which upset his friends because he never had any money, and it upset his wife because they never had any money. And he, in a rare burst of character, I don't think he's ever had a biography in English, but in a rare twist of character from his usual ironclad self-absorption, he actually heard those complaints. And luckily, he had kept a notebook. So he published that. That's what this is. This is a full, complete English-language translation of his notebooks, of his experiences at the hands of the Russian Revolution. And it's, as a primary document, it's amazingly good. Then we have a novel. I don't remember if this is a debut novel. I'm pretty sure I was the only critic anywhere in the world who reviewed it. This is by Jeffrey Rotter, and it's called The Only Words That Are Worth Remembering. I don't know if it's a debut or not. It sure reads like one. It's set in a near-future Earth, a near-future America in which societal knowledge has collapsed. The implication is, in the book, that it's not only collapsed, but it has been hammered to death. And so people in this America don't know that the Earth goes around the sun. They don't know anything about physics or astronomy or medicine. It's an oddly primitive world. It's a mixture. I mean, you've got characters driving around in cars, but nobody knows anything about anything. It's like the world of Mad Max, only not quite that dystopian yet. I was describing this to a friend of mine just a year ago because like I said, it sticks with me. I wish I still had a copy of this. I would reread it. I was describing it, what I just described, to a friend of mine, and he said, "Oh, so it's about Trump's America." Because the next time there's a pandemic, no one's going to get a vaccine. No one is. It wouldn't matter. We will be stacking bodies like cordwood, and it won't matter. No one will get a vaccine. In America, a woman can get on camera with her own show and corporate sponsorship deals and call dinosaurs fake and gay and not be laughed out of public. In any other decade in American history, she would have been laughed out of the public sphere, so that when she got on stage to do anything, even just hand out a diploma, the whole audience would erupt in laughter. Instead, I don't know, in America, probably 100 million people believe that dinosaurs are fake and gay. Who knows how many, seriously, they will never admit it, but who knows how many Americans think the Earth is flat. So, yeah, and that is encouraged now. That is just encouraged in this era of America. That is just encouraged, because in this era of America, the only thing that determines whether or not something is true is if the boss says it's true. So he can take a marker and draw on a hurricane map and terrify people in 1/5 of an entire state that is no danger of a hurricane. He can just do that. No one will say that he did it. No one will take the marker away from him. No one will rub it off the map because their fellow citizens are in danger. No one will do anything like that. Instead, you'll get think pieces in all the usual suspects saying, well, how do we know that isn't true? So, but I've gone off on a tangent. The novel is wonderful because at the heart, the inciting incident, as the story bros say, is the discovery of a spacecraft, a NASA spacecraft. This takes place largely in Cape Canaveral. So the family at the heart of the story finds a spacecraft that may even be still working, but that certainly its very existence calls into question a lot of what they think about the world. And there are marauding alligators as well. Then we have Gregory Paul. This is Predatory Dinosaurs of the World. This is an older book, and dinosaur research goes on. It continues with all sorts of new technologies brought to bear to find out what these things look like, how they hunted. Did they hunt in unison? Did they raise their young? Did they scavenge? All that sort of stuff. This is 40 years old, so I really like it. It's full of those little dot matrix illustrations that I really like, the same type that you can find in the Dinosaur Series by Robert Baker. And so I would buy this if I saw it. You might not. You have to be a real dinosaur fanatic to buy the older books. I know I always say when it comes to history or biography that these things aren't really outdated. We just mistakenly think that way. A biography can be outdated if the original biographer did not have all important primary documents, like those 3 Kafka books over my shoulder. The last volume, there are chunks of the second 2 volumes in that trilogy that are based on material no one else had ever seen. So that, and also the author's great. He writes a great book. So, but when it comes to like the Conquest of Peru, I always say there is no actual reason to. I say that histories don't outdate if they're written with talent. Dinosaur books do, but I like this one anyway, so I put it on here. Any of these striking your fancy? No.
Well, I love the Russian Revolution Journal. That sounds awesome.
This next one's by Paul Cosman. Talk about sticking with me. This didn't just stick with me. This stuck with the literary community, the critical community. No one knew what to make of this book. I didn't know what to make of this book. It's not that old. I think we halted on this channel. I've made 300 videos though, so it's hard to sift through them.
Yeah.
It's who's got time to sift through 300 videos?
300 is insane.
It's insane.
It's insane.
This is time and its adversaries in the Seucid Empire. Sorry, I did not plan on the just total whiteout covers. And this is about. Well, first of all, people who don't know history don't know anything about the Seucid Empire. They don't know where it comes from or where it originates or what it did. But in addition to that, most people who don't read history or who don't think historically will think that, well, time has always been time. When it hasn't. It hasn't. States have determined time and years and the start of the calendar and the start of the world. And Cosman decides to go at that subject in this book in a very wonderful, thought-provoking way. I don't know how quite to explain it, but this has stuck with me for how good it is, how engaging it is. I don't know if it's still in print, but all right. Then we have The Nature of Alexander by Mary Raynault. She wrote historical fiction about Alexander the Great, of course, including a hardcover with a dust jacket of the Persian boy that you did not bring with me. I dropped heavy hints that when Christopher was coming here, he was to bring tribute, and he did not. He did not. I was expecting that book. I was hoping for a certain leather-bound multi-volume set of another author. Didn't get that either.
Well, I've sacrificed years of my life already.
Yeah, you're all welcome at Hyde Cottage. You'll die happy. You'll die with a smile on your face. But anyway, I ask you to poll around. Enough people connected with Book have now been here. Poll around and see if people didn't enjoy themselves. Whether their ass gets a workout or not. I think you will all find that the juice is worth the squeeze. But anyway, where was I?
This was a mistake.
Yes, he's been saying that repeatedly for days. He's just been muttering that, even in his sleep.
You would know.
This is an actual biography. This is not fiction, and it's great. It is great. It's a fantastic book to read. I have maintained forever and ever. I still do maintain. I periodically reread this. That this is the only biography of Alexander the Great that is written by someone who's in love with him. I don't know that Mary Renault would really have argued with that. It's also by far the best biography of Alexander the Great ever written by a woman. It's a really good compliment to her Alexander books. I like to think of it as the great third book, because the first one is Fire from Heaven. It's about a young Alexander, and Plutarch gives us lots of great stories about young Alexander, stories that just beg to be effectively dramatized, and they are in Fire from Heaven. There are so many wonderful, wonderful scenes in that book. Oh my God. Probably the centerpiece being the story from Plutarch where young Alexander tames his famous horse Bucephalus, who will not let anyone else tame him. That scene is done in the Colin Farrell movie. Less said about it, the better. But then you have The Persian Boy, which is, I think, the greatest thing Mary Renault ever wrote, about Alexander's campaigns, but seen through the eyes of a boy camp follower. Not through Alexander, not through any of his great generals or friends, but from a eunuch who's just traveling along. And then you've got Funeral Games, which starts with the death of Alexander. And I think Mary Renault was thinking, all these successors of his can carry a novel. The successors, his brother, his mother, his wife, and they can't. So I like to think of this as the third great volume in that. Funeral Games falls apart, I think. But anyway, let's move on. We have A. Roger Eckrich. This is At Day's Close. This is a historical study of what people thought of nighttime at various epochs in history. What did they think of it? What did they do at night? Anything? We know for a fact that for long eras of history, humans woke up in the middle of the night. They slept twice. Only humans could sleep twice instead of only once.
I can maybe do 3 or 4.
But what did they think about it, right? It was obviously a time of manifest peril. Because you probably do, but you just don't know how dark the night is when you're away from all of this American technology. It is like a blanket coming down. And that's dangerous. Most people did not venture out at night, but a lot of people had to. Didn't have plumbing. Had to venture out at night. Anyway, the author does a great job of examining this subject. A subject that, like hunger or dawn or the ocean, it's fruitful to go back into historical accounts and try and figure out what people thought about these things. We think, like with time, we think these things have been just constant, and they haven't been. What do we got? Oh, right, John Hendricks. This is The Faithful Spy. I ordinarily don't like John Hendricks' work. I think it's a little too cartoony. I know that's a little odd coming from someone who loves Will Eisner, but I do. This worked perfectly. This is the story of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who fought against the Nazis. The minute he realized what they were, he fought against them, and he continued fighting against them even when he knew that he would die as a result. And this is, Hendricks does, it's full of illustrations, and some of them are sequential. There's lots of sequential art in here, but there's also lots and lots of text as well, and it works wonderfully, just wonderfully. Much, much better than I thought it would. And it ends, of course, I don't want to spoil things, but Dietrich Bonhoeffer did not overthrow the Nazis. Let's just put it that way. This ends with a visual that is just unbelievably, no pun intended, inspired. I wish I still had a copy of this book. I sent it away to probably someone of you. But there's a visual at the end. You'll know, if you know the book, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. That is amazing. But the whole story is amazing too, especially, not to be hokey or anything, but right now, especially right now in 2025. And then we can finish up with a World War II book, or World War I book, because this is just big military history. It's very granular, but so you kind of want to buckle down for that if you're not. This is not an introduction to the subject, so it's good. It's well written. It's an era of World War II naval history that you wouldn't know unless you got down in the weeds, I don't think. Everyone knows, or maybe a previous generation, everyone knew the phrase "sink the Bismarck." But the Bismarck had a sister ship, another of these monstrous warships that the Germans had, that were the threat of them, the legend of them, was as damaging as they themselves were. They themselves saw very little action, either one of them. It was Bismarck, and there was the Turpets. And that's what this book is about, the career of the Turpets, whose greatest victories were done in harbor, and just by rumors, just by threats, that the Germans would let this thing loose. They'd let it down the fjord and out into the shipping lanes. And the Allies tried a lot to destroy the Turpets, and it didn't seem to work. It really did live up to its name as some sort of impregnable fortress. They dropped bombs on it. They fired torpedoes at it, and nothing seemed to work at all. Eventually, a raid did the trick, and it was the story of the raid itself is, I think, a third of this book. This is not a short book, and I think it's a third of this book. And the story of the raid itself is incredibly dramatic. Lots of people fighting, lots of them dying, lots of individual eyewitness accounts so that we know what happened from minute to minute. The story of the Turpets is fascinating. I myself look at it as, you read I guess we could call this a keyhole history. When you read a book like this, I always try to get a takeaway from it. It's just a reflex of mine, because when you're a freelance book reviewer, you're giving people takeaways. If you do a good job setting up the takeaway in your review, that will be enough for them to determine whether or not they want to try it. And that's all I'm here for, is to help you determine that. And I always think that the takeaway of both the Turpets and the Bismarck is the utter doomed futility of Germany ever having an effective sea force. There was just no way. Against the Royal Navy, against the Americans when they started to flood the ocean with their ships, there's just no way. And I think that these two things, and especially Turpets, which barely moved in its history as a ship, I think that really shows that. But there are other takeaways, I'm sure. It's a gripping good story. These two, who are they? Nicholas Zetterling and Michael Tamalander do a terrific job. It's steeply written military history, but once you get its register, you will really like it. And there you go. Those are more Hedgehog book recommendations done in the presence of Christopher Russell. Did any of them interest you?
That was a really good batch. There was a lot of really good recommendations in there.
You're mainly down for rom-coms, right? So,
yeah, it's mainly stuff like that, or things like William Gass. Do you have any recommendations?
William Gass will never be on one of these lists.
Roberto Bolaño, maybe.
Yeah, he's great. His 2 books this year are so good. I really think he ought to look after his health. This kind of work schedule is not good for you. Yeah, there's an aspect of Roberto Bolaño that I really, really wish were true of people like David Foster Wallace. Oh, wait. But anyway, we're going to wrap this up and go back to, I guess, what is the torture of Hyde Cottage. I'm not going to take it personally, because people who complain the loudest about torture come back. So,
just an endless treadmill of calzones and wine.
But also Frida.
And Frida, there you go, yeah.
And there's a wonderful moment when Frida remembers that you exist and walks over and hops on top of you. That's a wonderful moment. Anyway. And then there are the wonderful moments later in the night when I remember that you exist and walk over and hop on top of you. It's all wonderful here at Hyde Cottage. Okay, now all the people who've been here are remembering and flashing back. We don't want to traumatize anybody. So I'll wrap this up, and we'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.